I'm coming in this evening to do an observation sit. This is the same river bottom down here in Missouri where Zach and I had that encounter with the big 8-pointer a few weeks ago. And what I'm wanting to do tonight, as you can see behind me, this is pretty vast and wide open. But across the way over there, about half a mile or so, there's a bluff that overlooks this thing. And I'm going to try to make my way down through all this nasty crap in this river bottom and get up on top of that bluff. I'm sure I'm going to be covered in cuckleburrs and stickers and everything else by the time I get there, but I'd like to get up there at a high spot and be able to watch over all this bedding, because that's what these bucks are doing. They're bedding down in here along the edges of these creeks and rivers in these bottoms and this real thick stuff, and then they're moving out onto these ridges where there's oaks. And I'm hoping that I don't have anything come by too close tonight, but if I do, I've got my bow with me just in case. The plan here is to try to observe some movement tonight, because we've got the same wind for the next 4 days, southwest. And if I see a buck in this river bottom moving in daylight tonight with a southwest wind, Jake and I can come in here in the next few days and hunt him. So I'm going to drop down in this little dry creek bed, ease over there, and see if I can get it set up with a good vantage point. Deer bed. Well, my initial plans have changed. I got back in here about 200 yards from that bluff that I was wanting to observe from, and I started running into tons and tons of fresh sign. As soon as I did my first interview and dropped in that creek right there, I looked down and I cut several sets of mature buck tracks leading in and leading out of this bedding area within this bottom. And these bucks won't bed a lot of times out in the middle of this stuff. They'll bed off of the points of these hills and whatnot. You can see across from me, there's some hardwood timber over there, some oaks, and where those oaks kind of peter out into this bottom is where these bucks will bed with wind coming in from the timber side. That's exactly what that other buck was doing a few weeks ago. And I got up here and I was just getting close to the bluff that I wanted to get to, and I started finding huge rubs, the size of my leg, and I bet there's 25 of them in here at least. They're all leading down into this bottom at this trail right here, and it looks like there's a real good crossing down there in the creek. It's pretty deep right now, the creek is, and this one crossing is about the only place where these deer can get from one side to the other. And the path leading down through there looks like somebody's been driving a pickup through it. The deer just hammering it. So I went ahead and pulled off my initial plan. I'm going to set back a little ways. I'm not going to be able to see near as much country, but they're right here. I mean, they got to be within a few hundred yards of this spot in this bottom. I would not be surprised if they stand up out across from me, though, on that point, and they go work back to the south. We should be able to see one if he's bedded out in here tonight, and then make a play from there. Got our first buck of the evening. He just stood up out there in that grass. All you can see is his antlers. That stuff's so tall. Well, it's last light, and the plan worked. I was able to spot several bucks out there. One of them got out of his bed down here just on the other side of the creek. He was bedded in a perfect spot for a south wind, and he worked right back up into that wind and onto that point of oaks over there. That's exactly what I figured they would do with this wind. I couldn't tell what this buck was. I saw another buck. I saw just this one side of him, for 2 seconds, wasn't able to get any footage. And then I got maybe just a few seconds of footage of a decent buck going up onto the oaks out of that bedding. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see quite as much as I wanted from this spot. I'm sure if I would have been in my original location up there on the bluff, I'd have been able to get real good footage of him looking straight down in there. But I got a little bit, and I saw where they went. Got the same wind tomorrow, we might just be in the game on these deer.